Oh, didn't see you there. Anyway, okay, so what have I got for you today? What I've got is some Alexa controlled smart switches. So I've got two types, and what I want to do is I'll go through both types, but I'll probably do the other ones in a separate video, so that if you're not at all interested in the other ones, you're not wasting your time here. But basically I've got TP-Link ones, and I've got these ones here, which for want of a better term are generic sort of Chinese ones, basically the cheapest you're going to get. Now you can see them here on my screen. Amazon, you can get them from Amazon. They're £16 at this moment. If you were to look elsewhere, perhaps you might be able to find them cheaper, but they kind of have pretty generic names. Like these say they're Horsky. My ones do not say that anywhere on them. There we go. So anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So you can see that the packaging is reasonably nice, in fairness, for one of these sort of generic Chinese products, which I'm quite often used to coming in a little brown box. But you can see the official looking Apple and Android etc. logos on there. It says works with Alexa, which is what we want to hear, because that's what I'm going to use it for. I have actually already set one of these up, but this one has never been out of the box before, so I'm sure you'll be able to enjoy that. Humorously, they've got the a picture of a kettle here. Now, I suppose that's a thing that you can use these sockets for. I don't think that I would do, because if you forget to fill up the kettle and you turn it on, your kettle's going to sit there and dry boil, and that would be a bad thing. I mean, I assume it would be a bad thing. I've never done it. If we get into here and have a quick look at what we've got. So we've got like a little instruction manual, which is yeah, interesting. And then you've got the actual product in here. So it's not too shabby, not too bad. I've got the UK version, obviously, but I think basically they just swap out this little panel here to whatever type of plug you're used to. Make sure, obviously, if you're buying this from somewhere, that you get the right ones. That's all that's in the box. You can see that the back has got the UK plug on it. Again, you can see it quite obviously just a little blank plate thing that they put in there, which you could take out with a screw if you particularly wanted to. We're not going to do that. This is what it looks like. I mean, it's not too bad. Like, when I first got it out of the box, I thought this was going to be a really flimsy, horrible feeling thing, and I'm always a little bit worried about that with stuff that I'm going to be plugging into my mains electricity and leaving unattended and turned on for ages, because you don't want these things catching fire or something while you're not there. But they feel legit. They don't feel too bad at all. This is a little button here. It lights up and it's a button. So it's quite bright, actually. I mean, when it's on, it's either, so you have like two colours, blue and sort of blue and red, I guess, or blue and orange rather, which illustrates it being on. So you can turn the socket on and off by pressing this button. Obviously, the reason you're getting smart sockets is not so you can be bending down and pressing buttons. If you read the comments and stuff online, there's plenty of people moaning about the app, or not so much the app, but like the setup process. So I can understand that. It's a little bit strange. I mean, these are only 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, which basically means like they're the older standard of Wi-Fi. Most people are on the 5 gigahertz on their new stuff at the moment. So the chances are that if you've got, for example, a relatively new mobile phone, that you will be on, even though it may appear, you'll still be on a separate Wi-Fi connection, because your home router probably has 2.4 and 5 gigahertz networks. This was a bit of a problem for me, because I literally don't have anything that's 2.4 gigahertz, and I used to have a router which had both as disparate networks. That's not the case anymore. So I had to log into my router and change it to only be 2.4 just for the period of time while I'm setting this up, because once it's set up, no problems. But certainly if you don't do that, and so your mobile phone is on the 5 GHz network and your switch will be trying to get onto the 2.4 GHz network, they're never going to speak to each other. It's not going to work. I mean, I say they're never going to work. It depends. Obviously, you might have a different router which does some kind of like magic to make that happen between the two networks. But certainly on my relatively new Super Hub, whatever it is, the newest one, it did not do that. Something on 5 GHz couldn't speak to 2.4, so I turned off 5 and just temporarily, which forced my mobile phone onto the 2.4, and then I could do it no problems. These use what's called like eFamily cloud, I think it is. Now, I read a few things online and people were going, oh, it's really, the app doesn't work, blah blah blah. So they come with these little QR codes. Now you definitely want to use the QR codes. If you don't use the QR code, there's like a bunch of different apps that you're going to potentially come across that don't work. So you just want to use the QR code just for the sake of getting the right app. Once you do, no problems. The only concern that I really have about these switches, after seeing the build quality and everything like that, is what happens if this sort of cloud back end that they have gets turned off at some point. I mean, I don't have a huge amount of experience of like Chinese cloud electronics and how long lived they are. I mean, for example, my other sockets are TP-Link ones. I mean, I'm sure that TP-Link has got a lot of stuff going on in China, etc. as well, but they're kind of like, certainly I perceive them to be a bigger company, and I have more faith that their cloud infrastructure is going to stay up for longer than generic no-name eFamily cloud. That being said, no point worrying about something that I can't control at the moment. As long as it's there for the next couple of years, I'll probably get easily enough value out of them, because as I say, they're significantly cheaper than more established versions of this anyway. Once you get the app to work, which would just simply require them to both be on the 2.4 network, it's just a case of setting it up exactly as the instructions would suggest, and then you just can say, Alexa, turn off socket 1, or Alexa, turn on socket 2, or however you get it broken down. We can have groups. I mean, I'm thinking of using these to control my studio lights, which are on at the moment. Now, they are only just in front of me, so it's not like it would be a massive hardship for me to just continue to use my hands to turn them on and off. But, I've bought these sockets and haven't really got any plans for them as it stands. But certainly, they work fine. So yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't be worried about these. I mean, it's hard to explain through the medium of video. They definitely feel cheaper, but they don't feel horrible. I don't worry about them. They're not really flimsy, horrible stuff, which I have had before. They feel reasonable. The software, the app is like quite nice and quite polished. It doesn't reek of some of the old school apps that you used to get with some of your generic electronics. And it integrates fine with the Alexa. So you have to get the eFamily Cloud skill, and then once you do that, away you go. Everything works fine. Obviously, if you're going to do what I recommended and turn off the 5 GHz bit of your network, you probably want to remember after you've set it up to turn it back on. Otherwise, you might find that your broadband's slower, depending on how fast your broadband is, and also other devices might have a bit of a fit about the fact you've turned off what they were connected to. So definitely remember to do that. I think what I'll do is I'll hopefully will have already edited it in a little bit, just showing me turning off the 5 GHz, so you kind of understand what I'm talking about and where you might go to do that. Let me know in the comments if you want to see these working, because I mean, it's literally a case of the switch goes on, the switch goes off. There's not much more to see. If you've got an Alexa, I suppose I could do a bit more of a in-depth video around how these will turn on and off with your Alexa. Maybe I'll do that with the TP-Link switches, or both of them in fact. But certainly my first impressions of these switches, which on Amazon are Horsky remote control switches, I'll put a link in the description if you want to see what they are. I mean, as far as I'm aware, they're the cheapest ones on Amazon. The TP-Link ones that I've got are definitely more expensive. I got them on Black Friday or some other promotional thing. I'll put them in the link as well, but they're definitely more expensive, and to all intents and purposes they work exactly the same. I mean, they're just a switch. So yeah, I would definitely say that these are fine. If you can find them cheaper than the £16 there, but banging. But I'll just make it so you can see nice and close what they look like. It's focusing on me. Let's see if I... So yeah, they're quite distinctive in that they have a weird little pattern going around the circle. But yeah, get yourself one. Maybe they do 2-packs as well. Have a plan of what you're going to use these with first. I mean, we've got them on our bedside lights. Also have a light in the living room, so that basically if you're going up or down the stairs in the morning or in the night time, you can just, if you're carrying something, you can turn the light on or off, which seems like a real flamboyant use of technology. Is flamboyant the right word? I don't know. Anyway, it seems like something that you're just doing for the sake of doing it, but when you have it, you get used to it very quickly. And then if, for example, the Wi-Fi is off, I mean, that hasn't really ever happened, but if something happens and you suddenly think, oh my goodness, I want to turn the lights off on while I'm going upstairs, and you can't do it. Likewise, if you're already in bed, you can just shout out for Alexa to turn it off and go to sleep. So again, I probably wouldn't use it on a kettle myself. Maybe your kettle has like some kind of like no water detection thing, I don't know. But certainly for me, these work fine. Just have an idea of what you want to use them for first. You can obviously put like a power strip out of one of these if you wanted to have multiple things turn on and off at once. So I'm going to give these little no-name power switches a thumbs up. Obviously, if I have any problems with them going forward, I'll come back and do another video explaining them. But certainly for the time being, they seem like probably the most cost-effective entry into smart home stuff that I've seen. So